Hello and welcome to the New South Wales edition of the Year in Beer 2025, a podcast series in which the Crafty Pint team and guests from around the country cast our eyes over the year in beer across Australia. First up, Will and I are joined by Jason Trewin, one of our Sydney-based writers, who's also very heavily involved in the Inner West Ale Trail. We chat about various things around the Sydney beer scene and further afield, openings, closures, trends, that kind of thing. Then we head to the north of the state, where Will has a chat with Beck Reed from Curious Craft. She doesn't just reflect on her year in beer, but also on what's been going on in the north of the state in 2025. Then we're back to Sydney. We catch up with Brad and Mick from Sunday Road Brewing. They've had another great year, picked up more trophies along the way, and they have some grand plans for 2026. And also in the middle of the show, we'll hear again from the team at Beer 30 with some more tips for brewers. So plenty to get through at the midway point now of the Year in Beer 2025 series. So see you after the break. Cheers.
Entries for the Royal Queensland Beer Awards, supported by King Street and the Star Brisbane, are now open, and there are plenty of reasons to get involved. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from reigning champion beer brewer Gavin Croft of Slipstream Brewing on why they entered the competition.
Well, we enter the Royal Queensland Beer Awards every year. We have since the reintroduction of the competition, and it has some really good benefits. One of which is benchmarking your beers against your peers. Obviously we're quite competitive by nature too, so we're looking to win. Hopefully, the quality of the beers that we're making stands up well enough that we can do that.
So if you've got a thirst to prove your beers are the best in town, be sure to enter the Royal Queensland Beer Awards today at rqa.com.au. Even better, submit 9 beers and get 10% off all additional entries.
Jason, thank you for joining James and I.
Hey, how you going, guys? Great to be here.
Great to have you. And do you want to tell us a little bit about 2025 for yourself and your work in the Inner West of Sydney?
Yeah, it's been huge. So I've been flat chat with the Inner West Ale Trail. We launched last October, so we've had a full year this year. It's been really awesome, and the reception has been great as well. We did a big Hop Harvest Festival. We did a country festival in the Inner West as well. We've just released new merch, which is exciting, and we got our street signs up. So we used to have like a QR code, like decals kind of on the ground, but they deteriorated after a few years. So now we have bright orange, very 80s orange street signs up, and that put together planning that. Spent months on Google Street View, zooming around the Inner West, looking for poles. Actually, that sounds a bit weird, but looking for street poles and trying to find the appropriate ones. Like ones that didn't have stop signs. I learned a lot about traffic control, which a new skill, I guguess, for this year.
Nice. Well, it feels watching from afar, or at least via your socials and the Inner West Ale Trail socials, that like the Inner West Ale Trail is almost becoming like the one that others can look at for inspiration. Like having the street signs is such a cool thing on such a different level. But I guess is that partly because you've got a bit of a dedicated team? You're not alone doing the socials and the online stuff, are you?
Yeah, it's just me kind of running it day to day, but collaborating with the 15 breweries, which for content opportunities. And I think, we got a huge head start boost last year with 2 grants from the state government, which really, let us hit the ground running. And then we've had a bit of funding and, selling merch and stuff like that brings in revenue to keep me on as well. But yeah, it's been lots of fun. And I think one of our big focuses has just been on being much more than just beer as well. Like really, family friendly, dog friendly, event friendly, just a real kind of all-round experience, and we're seeing that in the crowd as well, getting really diverse demographics through, which is really, really exciting. So, and we try to reflect that on social. So yeah.
And you've got another opening coming soon as well, someone else adding themselves to the trail.
Yeah, so Heaps Normal. So Heaps Normal, they which is really exciting. I'd have to ask you guys. I think that's the first non-alc brand to open a brewery in Australia. Is that right?
It'd be the second, but it will be the only one when it opens because Sober opened and sadly is closed on the
Yes.
Gold Coast
Yeah,
since
right.
then. So yeah,
So it's been a long time coming, but they opened, they had like a launch day, and I think they're just doing functions at the moment, but they opened their health club, which is on Brompton Street in Marrickville, right next to Wildflower and Poor Tom's Gin Distillery. So it's quite a party street, which is funny because it's probably one of the smallest streets in Marrickville, and now it's got the biggest party cul-de-sac there is, and that's a really great venue. Everyone asks me but they do mid-strength beers as well, like from guest breweries, and they do full-strength ones as well. But there's a stage in there. It's a really big space, great fit out. Really, really exciting to have them on. So we'll be adding them to the t-shirts early next year, I think, when they open to the public.
And I guess you've got to take, unfortunately, Wayward off potentially, or they might not have made it because there was that big closure early in the year and everything going on with Powder Monkey as well.
Yeah. So it's been interesting. I mean, just going back to the street signs, because it took a while with council back and forth, etc. We actually had it almost all ready, and then we got the news that both Wayward was shutting down and White Bay as well. So we had to take the street signs. We had to kind of change that project very, very quickly as well. So yeah, there's been plenty of musical chairs like in New South Wales at the moment, especially in Sydney. You look at White Bay. They had a really big relaunch back in the late 2024 with the Sydney Swans. They were sold at the SCG, etc., and then they got bought by Hawkers, who then closed down the White Bay tap room. Sydney Brewery has now moved into that Roselle spot as well, and then Wayward merged with Akasha, then got bought by Powder Monkey, who also own Willie the Boatman and Southern Highland Brewing, and then shut down the Wayward tap room, which was quite emotional. I think they're coming up to 10 years. So I think they had about 2 or 3 different parties. They pretty much partied for a month, I guess, as a farewell. And so that was quite emotional. I think there was lots of people came out, and because it was one of the formative breweries, craft breweries, and it played a really important role, I guess, for a lot of Sydney-siders finding craft beer.
Does your budget within the Inner West Ale Trail stretch to a good thick marker pen so you can go around, and cross out and put the new brewery signs on whenever there's a merger or an acquisition?
That is tricky actually. Once they went up, because then we found out Heaps Normal was not moving. They just opened. They're definitely not moving, but they're opening. So we have a lot of signs that have like 3 or 4 different breweries on it. So they're going to be the harder ones. Like you can put up a single sign, that's easy. Yeah. But yeah, there's a few of those. Maybe stickers or maybe just a whiteboard.
Asterisk delete as appropriate.
Yeah. Scan this QR code for updates. But I think the great news is we've probably had more breweries open or expansions than closures in Sydney and New South Wales this year.
Yeah.
So
it was exciting at the start of the year, I guess, to have Brackett, reopen in Marrickville, on the edge of Marrickville, having had to move out of Alexandria as well. I guess they've been a very welcome addition, I'm assuming, to your local scene.
Yeah, I'm very happy that they're there, and I think they love being part of the the ale trail and just getting that foot traffic and joining that part of the community as well, which is really, really good. And we've also Northside, we've seen some good growth and expansion as well. Like Felons have just added a barrel room on their wharf, which is pretty impressive with 700 people capacity, and Bucketies has just opened a second venue with Chalkies as well, along with the Brookvale Trail just keeps going from strength to strength. I think they got a grant last year as well, and just what they're doing. They did an Oktoberfest weekend, which was awesome. They just did a live music weekend as well, which had huge crowds with like people surfing on surfboards and crowd diving, and it looked pretty exciting. So I didn't get up there, but it's pretty cool what they're doing.
It was interesting with the Bucketies second venue, Chalkies as well. Another example of breweries that I guess looking to open extra venues to pour beer through, but also diversifying as well, because massive screens for the sport in there, pool tables. I think there's a dartboards as well. Like it's very much a sports hall, but with independent local beer.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that across the board, and that's really exciting as well. There's like really I'm seeing a real strong focus on a fuller tap room experience, going beyond beer. There's a big focus on good food, strong wine lists. It's not just red or white anymore. and diverse, like really diverse events, pulling in different crowds. Like this year, I've seen everything from like singles nights at Hawks.
What were you doing there,
Apparently,
Jason?
they were getting a lot more girls than guys, and had to put a special call out for to get. I think the men were too shy to turn up. So, to everything for like Chuck and Sons is doing parent groups on Fridays, and they did Pilates and Pints Day. I think they called it Faux and Floam. Faux. I can't say it. Foam and Flow. I was going where I suggested Downward Grog, but apparently that they didn't want that. They went into that.
Yeah.
And then, like the Brookie Fest earlier this year, they had chili eating and dash dog racing, and, to everything like down south, Seeker are doing salsa nights. So it's really good. And we're kind of, I guess, just seeing tap rooms really become bigger event spaces and, the community halls, I guess, rather than just a place to go get the latest IPA, which is also a great reason to go. But the more reasons, the merrier, I think.
Yeah. Well, one of the guests we've got on later in the show is team Mick and Brad from Sunday Road, and they're midway through expanding their tap room as well to enhance their, I guess, the experience of visiting there as well. So it is happening across the board. What about on the venue side of things? Maybe a chance to talk about the second sort of rebooted Sydney Beer Week. You said that was a bit of a step up this year, because I know in the first year they did Sydney Beer Week, they sort of said no brewery hosted events. We want it all to be about venues and trying to sort of reboot, I guess, support for indie brewers and craft beer within venues. Because I have noticed with Sydney, like some of the, I guess, formerly iconic sort of craft beer venues, like the Royal Albert Hall Hotel is now just pouring, it's pretty much tap contract, and that used to be the place to go. So how's you feeling about sort of the venue scene and that sort of support for local beer?
Yeah, so Sydney Beer Week, I think it's going, getting, really building some momentum, which is good. There's so many events this year, and my only gripe, I guess, is that there's so many in 1 week. So I go to about 2 and then I need a bit of a break. So, but yeah, it was great to see the breweries involved. Like one I went to, which was really cool, and it's great that they've done it, is a pro-am kind of competition with home brewers that pair, really respected breweries with homebrew winners.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all got together on Sweeney's rooftop, and then picked a winner as well. So just kind of involving the industry, at the top end and also the kind of more aspiring end as well, which is good. Venue wise, I mean, I still get sad when I'll go to an everyday pub and there's probably, only one independent craft beer at the end of the line on the end of the taps. And you've got nine from the major macro suppliers, unfortunately. So hopefully there's some room to change, or they can break those tap contracts open, I think, because it's just, it's a bit sad at the other end.
And James, there's been some pretty exciting stuff like outside of the city as well. Later on, we'll hear from Beck from Curious Craft about what's going on in the Northern Rivers. But you've been having a bit of back and forth with the legendary Corey Crooks about his venue that might make it into 2025. As
not quite going to make it in 2025. I was in touch with him yesterday. So if you don't know Corey, he's a bit of a legend on the Newcastle beer scene. He used to be the Albion when that sort of turned fully into craft a few years ago, not so much anymore. Then opened Grain Store, which I guess is one of the best beer venues anywhere in the country. He took over the Cross Keys in Newcastle in Ties Hill maybe a couple of years ago now. He's been working on renovating that, turning it into another beautiful craft beer, but I guess broader offering than that for a long time. He had hoped to have it open in November, then December. Latest update from yesterday was probably early January. So we won't quite make it in, but that'll be, exciting news for people in Newcastle. They had Crafted Festival was back there again this year. I was chatting to Neil, who does a bit of writing for us from the Newy scene. And he was saying, sort of Good Folk Brewery is sort of the same owners as a venue group there as well. They've opened yet another venue there. So I think that's sort of almost like the biggest player in the sort of the craft beer scene is that Good Folk Brewing. They've got their beer on a lot of their own venues as well. So that's becoming almost like the dominant force in Newcastle in terms of craft beer and the hospo side of things for craft beer. And aside from that, I guess within that same region, I guess the bigger news would have been Six String moving into their new home on the Central Coast. They'd been in their existing place for more than a decade. They've moved into a bigger place now. More capacity, more space for live music. Yet another small brewery supporting live music, which is always great to see.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the places we called in we loved, which is almost Victoria, was Tokemore Brewing. It's great to see them open. I was talking to Matt over a number of years, one of the co-founders. He was, yeah, it took a lot longer than it thought it would, but it's finally open. It's great to go to a regional brewery like that in a small town where they're, you know, pretty unapologetically craft focused. You're talking hazy IPAs, bigger beers, mid strengths as well, and small stuff, but just a real broad spectrum of a tap lineup.
Yeah, I think when we called through on the way to Grainstock, it was it was West Coast Pilsner, Red IPA, Hazy IPA. Like there was it wasn't too much of a compromise, and beautifully done venue. So it's always good to see in this current period that people are still getting into the game, trying it in new place, and from what they were saying, going really well as well. They opened, I guess not in the busiest time of the year when you're not going to get too many people traveling through, and yet they said the locals have really got behind it, which is great to hear.
Yeah, definitely, and it's sort of it's still one of those things of this year, isn't it? With like breweries sort of working out where they are and where they sit in the market. Like Source pulled back out of wholesale a little bit more recently. Batch, I think, have had a renewed focus probably on who they were in the very first days of just a lot of really interesting beers. But probably, I don't know, Jason, you probably aren't. I know you're closer to the inner west, but you probably don't see them outside of it or anything like that as well. Like they're really, their roots seem really deep again.
Yeah. I think I'm talking to some venues in the lead up to our chat. They're just, they're kind of, some have happily downsized, I think, or they called it right sizing, which I thought was a really good term. And, obviously, I think that expanded a lot before, tried different things, distribution, and then realized that sadly, it might not be worth paying a rep full time to, fight for the shelf space or tap space that the meager tap space that's kind of out there. Just this refocus, I guess, on their own tap room and and sales there. So, which maybe in combination with the strength of the trails rising as well means you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Become more of a hospo kind of venue experience as well.
Yeah, well, and guys, talking of trails and tap house as opposed to tap room, just in recent weeks, Nigel Ayling, who launched the South Coast Ale Trail to sort of celebrate all the breweries and beers, I guess, along the coast south of Sydney, right down to the border. He's just opened a South Coast tap house in Merimbula to celebrate, the breweries and beers from that range. I think with a few guests as well. He's a big fan of Slow Lane Brewing, so I believe he's looking to always have some Slow Lane beers on there as well. But that seems to be going well. It's looking down there, mentioned Seeker before, kicking goals. The Wollongong Brewers have come together to form this association to, I guess, fight their cause. I love the Browley Brewhouse story. Like that started just a few families decided to bring something to this tiny little coastal town. They then I think very late last year took over Camel Rock Brewhouse as well and rebranded that. And they've been making some great beers as well. So it does seem to be a pretty healthy scene down that way as well, where which is also home to Ryefield hops, who are getting a lot of love from around the beer industry.
Yeah. We've also seen. I think there's now the Outer West Ale Trail as well. So that's around Penrith and around those suburbs. I think it's unofficial at the moment, but who knows? Hopefully they'll come through and can get a government grant as well to really put that on the map. So it's exciting.
Yeah. And I know, we mentioned Ryefield there. I know, Jason, you weren't able to make it this year to Grainstock. Will, you did a story a while ago about Ryefield, Mogwai East, based in Wollongong, and Voyager Malt, who are behind Grainstock, coming together to celebrate sort of the indie suppliers story, which seemed to be something we're seeing, more people trying to tell the story of ingredients and tell the story of local outside of just beer and brewing.
Yeah, I mean it's been a trend over some years. Like there's that part of it, but traditionally I think ingredients growers and suppliers haven't been that good at telling their story, and maybe they've relied on breweries as well. But I think we've seen a general trend of any kind of grower, whether large or small, sort of trying to really shout about their story. And in New South Wales, it is a really positive story because you do have these different, but not too different ingredient suppliers between Mogwai, Ryefield, and Voyager that can do all these things together. A lot of people are just using their ingredients. It's not like a small number of breweries that just want ingredients from those three suppliers because that's who they are, so they can talk about being a New South Wales brand.
Yeah, and it's great just to see, not just hops stealing the limelight, you know what I mean, and malt and yeast kind of getting their getting some attention too, because often it's all just about the hops. But
yeah. And I guess on that sustainability front, Grifter brought a lot of attention to the world of silos, which might not seem like the sexiest thing in the world, but they're very good from a, I guess, environmental perspective and efficiency perspective, a cost perspective for breweries. And if you do it like they've done it, and Running with Thieves have done it in WA, and Wolf of the Willows have done it in Victoria, a kind of a good marketing opportunity as well.
Yeah, it's unreal actually. And yeah, that was when I got to write the story, talking to both Wolf of the Willows and Grifter about their silo giant 30-ton tinnies, which it looks amazing, especially when it's lit up over lights, under lights, and it's right next to a pub called Vic on the Park here, which is owned by the Merivale Group, like this huge hospitality group, and it's kind of, the branding is tilted at their beer garden, so there's this huge towering tinny. They also sell Grifter there, so it's amazing marketing both ways, I guess. To launch, they had a competition that the first person that could spot it from a plane and take a photo, got a prize, which is great. But then it just comes with all the sustainability benefits as well, and there's so many. Like talking to the guys in that article, everything from packaging to less chance of OH&S injuries. Mm-hmm. And then just being able to buy it malt in bulk and more consistently as well. So it's always coming from the same batch. So.
Yeah. And there's been a bit of a award success for a number of New South Wales breweries this year. Filter went away from the Australian International Beer Awards with, I think it was 4 trophies, including a couple of big ones. Champion Indie and Champion, was it small or medium? I forget now. It was a few months ago.
Medium.
Yeah, Champion Medium. Kicking goals there. Reckless just seem to keep picking up 1 or 2 trophies everywhere they go. Sunday Row took out the top prize at Sydney Royal, so it's definitely plenty of depth and quality, it would seem. And obviously on the People's Choice front, mountain culture, going 3 for 3 in the Gabs Hottest 100, and surely they're going to go 4 for 4, given they've got Pat Cummins doing promotion for their Status Pro this time around.
Yeah, I can't see anyone stopping them.
Yeah.
Maybe Coopers, we'll see.
Who are they going to bring in to top Pat Cummins, though, after an Ashes 5-0 whitewash? Anything else you sort of picked up from the year, Jason?
So we have seen the continual growth of like low alc beers as well. Hawks came out, they've expanded their half series with a half Pacific. Filter have done an XPA Light, which is 2%, and Young Henrys have come out with their 3.5% version of Newtowner as well. So, and then that combined with Heaps Normal opening in Sydney as a public venue, you can see that definitely as a trend that's probably here to stay, giving people drinking less, and maybe with a bit more health consciousness as well.
And then on the flip side of that, we hear from people around the country that things like sours have maybe dropped away a little bit, certainly big imperial sours, smoothie sours, but not One Drop. They say that they still fly off the shelf any bottle shop they land in around the country. They seem to really be owning. Well, I guess got a great reputation for selling any kind of thing, but really owning that space, and people just willing to take anything that comes out from them and give it a go.
Yeah, they are the mad professors of sours, aren't they? So, yeah. I mean, they had huge success. I think Gab's Hottest 100, they came in 10th with Wee Jammin', which is a very intense fruited sour. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty amazing to land in the top 10 with such a, unusual, unique beer. But yeah, Nick and his team are just awesome, I think. And they've just built up that reputation for huge, big beers that feature 35 different fruits and 27 strains of lactose, and they make it taste really, really good.
Wonderful. Always a lot going on in New South Wales. When I started thinking about this, I was like, oh, what's been happening? But there's been quite more openings than I sort of realised, I think. It has been a massive year to the state. So, Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers, guys. Great
Cheers.
to be there.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Hey guys, Beer 30 by The Fifth Ingredient is one of the world's leading brewery management software systems used every day by thousands of brewers across the globe. They've now launched their Craft University, which aims to help you level up your business knowledge. I'm here with Aaron Gore, Beer 30's VP Sales and Marketing, to find out more. Aaron, how you doing?
Doing excellent, Craig. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Mate, tell me what's going on here. What led Beer 30 to start a university program? What's going on?
Well, it really came out of the fact that Beer 30 and the Fifth Ingredient itself were born out of the beer industry. We aren't approaching this as people from the outside. We have over 180 years of experience actually working in and running breweries, myself included, across the company. So a healthy beer industry isn't just something that we're passionate about and something that we're invested in personally. It's good business for us as well. If a brewery shuts down, that's nobody's customer. That doesn't help anyone. So if we're able to really provide some of the tools and the support and the knowledge well outside of just Beer 30, well outside of just what we do as our day jobs, and help make for a better, healthier beer industry, that benefits everyone.
Yeah, nice. And I guess, is this a sort of a free program that you're offering to customers? How does that side work?
Absolutely. And it's not just for customers either. One of the key things about Craft University is it's open for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an open source platform, and you can sign up for absolutely nothing. It's free. It goes right to your email. We have a Google Drive with all of our previous content that we want people to use, want people to get benefit from, even if they're using one of our competitors' products. And we cover pretty much everything. We're covering everything from AI to marketing to finance to non-beer beverages to brewing to how to deal with burnout and mental health issues within the workplace, and trying to make this stuff that are actionable at any scale. We have customers that are as small as 100 hectoliters and as large as 130,000 hectoliters and pretty much everything in between. So we want these to be things that can grow with your business and be applicable to you no matter where in the world and no matter where in the industry you may be located.
Yeah, nice. Talk to me about that curriculum and maybe a bit more detail. But say I'm a head brewer. I'm a small brewery, as you said, the smaller size. Kind of what would be the 5 key things or the couple of key things that I could take out of it?
Absolutely. So every single month we release a webinar that's absolutely free, and you can tune in live. We love to have questions, love to have interaction, but we do save those and send them out to everyone. We also do blog posts, not just from ourselves, but we also solicit expertise from across the industry, not just in Australia, not just in the States, but worldwide, to make sure that we're getting other voices in there from people who are having to do this every day and who are working with breweries across a variety of different business models and challenges to make sure that you're getting all the information you need. We also provide free tools as well. We just provided a free tank utilization tool for people to be able to understand where their beer is at, when it's at, and play that tank Tetris just a little more effectively than they'd be able to do off of something they'd have to build themselves.
Yeah, fantastic. No worries. Oh, this sounds amazing, mate, and love that you're providing it to the whole industry as an open source. Aaron, how can people get started? What do they have to do?
Absolutely. If you want to sign up for free, go to craftuniversity.beer. That's all it takes. Put your email right in there. You'll get the login information as well as information about everything coming up, as well as some of the things that we've been doing in the past. So we'd love to have you. And if you ever have any suggestions on content, things that you'd like to see, we welcome that feedback. We want this to be a community, and we want this to be something that's useful, not just to people who are thinking the way that we are or facing the challenges that we're seeing from our perspective, but the things that are the most relevant to you at whatever scale, wherever you happen to be operating.
Oh, nice one. Well, there you go, guys. A free educational resource, Craft University from Beer 30, and it's available right now at, what was that URL? It was
craftuniversity.beer.
It couldn't be easier. Jump on there, start exploring. And if you're not already a Beer 30 customer, definitely reach out to Aaron. You can email him at pint@thefifthingredient.com. That's the number 5 in there, thefifthingredient.com. Aaron, thank you so much, mate. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Beck, welcome to the Crafty Pint podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Will. It's great to be talking to the Crafty Pint again, to be fair.
Yes. We just featured a story on you a couple of months ago, so it's good to catch up again. And reflecting on that, like how's 2025 felt for you?
Business-wise, it's been a roller coaster year still. I don't think I've actually had a steady year since I took the business over. But business-wise, look, craft interest is still there. Spend is difficult. Range management is difficult. Changing tastes and changing disposable income for people. Um, I don't think, anyone in craft beer would say it's a smooth ride at the minute. It's certainly not. Outside of that, we've got some great stuff happening around the shop with Home Brew Club and getting to know some of the local brewers. So in those terms, it's been a really good year there, and I'd love people to be buying more craft beer, but it's been a good year.
Yeah, great. Yeah, no, it's craft beer drinkers I think have always been fickle, but you kind of hear that maybe they're more fickle now than ever.
Yeah.
You can't really predict what people want, who they're interested in, all
No.
that kind of stuff, right?
Definitely. Just when you think you've got your finger on the pulse of what people are drinking, we're discovering West Coast IPAs again. I get as many West Coast in as I can. People stop drinking West Coast IPAs. It's tricky, but look, I have a varied beer taste, so yeah, I kind of understand.
You get where they're coming from.
Yeah, I do.
And the homebrewing side of the things that you run, a local homebrew club, and
Yes.
people are really engaging with that still.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually sitting, and we were talking before, I might be a bit echoey because that's actually my home brew setup behind me. I'm actually working on some beers today. So yeah, the brew club's great because we've got local brewers that are keen to get involved, which is fantastic. It was something I was hopeful for, but certainly wouldn't assume that brewers would be keen to get involved. So we've had Dom and Nick from Caldera Brewing join us for a brew club and talk to us about all things wild cultures and saisons. And we're about to do, or early next year, we've got the lads at Earth Brewing up at Coogin are going to run a brew comp for us. So that's really gaining some traction, which is great.
Great. And I mean, that leads into, next year, and that's some of what you'll be running. But anything else big on the agenda for 2026?
Look, it's probably growing both because weirdly enough, they work in tandem. So attracting home brewers attracts consumers of craft beer and vice versa. So I'd really like to try and lean into that connection a little bit more in terms of a business point of view and a personal point of view. I'd like to very much get back to my Cicerone training. It's something over the last few years with a lot going on, I haven't really had a lot of time to do. So yeah, I think it just keep on keeping on and ride the train as long as I can.
Yeah, fantastic. And what about, what's your take on the local scene? You do have some really, Northern Rivers, there's some really exciting breweries, some newer kids. Obviously, there was one big and then became much bigger brewery in Stone and Wood in the neighbourhood as well. What's your take on the local scene?
Look, punching above its weight, definitely. So, we've got two mates based in Lismore who managed to come back after the floods, which is an incredible achievement to lose a brewery under that amount of water and come back. And of course, we've got the likes of 7 Mile down the road, Common People Brewing down the road, and further afield, like I said, Coogin. We've got Spangled Drongo in Murwillumbah and Caldera. So local beer scene's strong, and a couple of those have produced. Possibly, I know there's another month and a bit to go, but my beers of the year, Common People made a fantastic black IPA this year, which I tried very hard not to stash all for myself because I love that style and I'd love for more people to drink black IPAs or Cascadian dark ales for the purists out there. And Earth, they made a brilliant American pale ale called High Country, which is one of their limited series this year. So yeah, very much punching above their weight. I'd really love to see them. And they're doing really well in Queensland as well because of our proximity to the border. Doing really, really well.
Yeah, I've always loved 7 Miles IPAs, but never see them anywhere in Victoria. So it's awesome when I get to drink them.
I know they're kind of, and Maddie's West Coast is I tell people is the beer that turned my brain onto IPAs and West Coast, and I still think it's possibly one of, if not the best West Coast I've had.
Comfortably. And what about, do you have any sort of hopes for the near future in terms of beer or concerns?
Look, in some of the, initial questions you had me think about before we sat down for the chat, always we're going to be hopeful. We've got to be hopeful, otherwise we can't be too negative. But I'm concerned for the future of beer events. We've got some great festivals on the circuit, and you've only got to see what's happened with Gabs. Gabs Brisbane's not going to be happening next year, and you could already tell on attendance and size at Gabs Brisbane where that was potentially headed. And it's no criticism on organisers. It's getting people again to spend money, part with their hard earned, and the cost to breweries. It's not a cheap exercise. So, look, my fear is that we're going to get less and less beer festivals. I think the future of them is really small, curated events. We had a food festival just on the weekend in Lismore and invited some of the local breweries around, and the appetite from the people that came into town was huge. So I think there's going to be a changing scene around what festivals go ahead. I'd love to see craft beer become a little bit more approachable in the market. I know how, in terms of, I think there is still a stigma, as from a retailer that's been doing this for 6 years, the assumption of what craft beer is, whether we go away from calling it craft beer or lean more into that independent beer, because you still got people that just think it's fruit bombs, that there's nothing else to offer in craft beer. So that's what my hope is from going forward, that we start seeing that, whether it's welcoming, who that's driven by, whether it's retailers and breweries and associations, I don't know, but that's one of my big hopes for the future for beer, in independent beer.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. There's still, for everyone who loves it, there's still just so many more people who, it's been around, I think, craft beer for so long that they've kind of made their mind up, right, potentially. Yeah. So it does need that circuit breaker or something like that.
Absolutely. And it's been great to see the rise of lagers. I'm going through, there's a lager in there at the minute. But communicating that to consumers, that the kind of beer that you like to drink is actually made locally. And made exceptionally well. It's not just big, hazy, fruity beers, as some people just like to call them, fruit juice. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Beck. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this sort of whirlwind wrap of 2025. We'll have to get you on for a full episode in 2026.
Yeah, love to, Will. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
Mick and Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Now,
John.
I guess first things first, keeping it nice and easy. I would say, looking in from the outside, it's been a pretty big and successful 2025 for Sunday Road. How has it been?
Yeah, look, it's been a year of, there's certainly lots going on in the industry, but for us, Sunday Road, we've been able to celebrate a few successes this year. I think, a highlight, you probably agree, Mick, was the RAS, so the Royal Agricultural Society Awards, winning Best Beer in Australia for our Après Ski Bavarian Heft. That was a great pat on the back for the quality and consistency of beers that we're releasing. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that one, weren't we, Mick?
Yeah, stoked. And it's a style that we both like, but we just know it's never been a massive hit in the Australian market. So it was good to brew a real classic styled hef and have it really well received. So yeah, really stoked with that. Many beer awards lately, so it was good to sort of put the toe back in the water and get a big result.
Yeah, and it gave us a chance to talk about an article we ran a few years ago when there was wit beers and wheat beers were picking up, all the major award, the big trophies year in, year out, and we're like, so why is no one drinking them? I know plenty of brewers out there that love them, and there was a few came up my way probably as we were coming out of winter into spring. And when they're made well, they're such delicious beers. In fact, when I was up to Grainstock the night before it started, I was chatting to Stu by their storage, and he put a can of Après Ski straight in my hand because he wanted me to taste it. So, there's certainly a lot of affection for those sort of beers out there, if maybe not the biggest market.
Yeah, it's good. It was nice having the opportunity at the tap room. And then, like you're saying, wheat beers, I'm not sure. But every time after time, I want to drink this beer and just go, oh, wow, that's just lovely. That really suits our climate. Or now we call it Après, and it is, inspired by going skiing and stuff. It's such a great beer at any time of year, really. So, yeah, we've been really happy to be able to showcase it to people, like you're saying.
Well, I reckon there's a few brewers I could get together, and maybe they could form some sort of super group or some sort of lobbying group or something like that, to really push for the original hazy to get its,
Original
deserved
Hazy's,
place
yeah,
in the Australian
The
drinking
OG hazy.
but you guys, you're no strangers to trophies either. I mean, you've picked up a few other gongs at the Australian International Beer Awards in the past. I mean, is there a secret sauce to what you're doing, or is it just you, Mick, just being a wonderful brewer, given your head by Brad?
Yeah, I think stuff like we like brewing some traditional styles, and that just comes down to good brewing practice and I'm not really sure, really. Like, always try and put out the best beer every batch of beer that we brew here, and
Yeah, I think
good
Mick's,
results. I don't know.
Mick's a really experienced brewer that knows his craft so well, and when you combine it with, we put a lot of thought into the beers too. Like it's not just let's do this. We really do, and we think about what we're releasing each time, and it's an age old thing, but we never put a beer out that we don't want to drink ourselves. So there's always that passion behind it, and it's still to this day. They're always excited to bring out our latest creation, and come canning and packaging day, we're still as excited as we were the first day we did it. So I think that all helps. The passion's still there for sure.
Yeah. And what about any other highlights for you guys over the year then?
I guess some of our other limited releases, we've had a few that have sold out in a matter of days, just from, and the talk, like we did, what was Affogato Stout, that thing just went bang in 3 days. It was all sold out. It was just such a lovely beer, it was, it's one of those things where everything just worked together. And, but all through, I guess all the limiteds this year, like we've done a sort of huge different variety in the beers we've done.
100. We're actually at 101 now, so we've ticked over 100 different beers or new beers on Untapped all the time. So feels like we're loading 1 or 2 new beers in there every month.
Yeah.
We try and look for inspiration, what other people are doing, and what new styles are emerging. So even that beer that Brad was talking about, the Affogato Stout, was quite funny. Our sales guy Scott came in on the Friday to grab a couple of cans for the beer fridge at home, and by lunchtime on Friday when we opened, we didn't have any left when he got in here. So he actually had to go to our local independent craft beer bottle shop and buy some stock back offhand to take home for his own fridge.
That's what you want though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was we had a great laugh about it.
Yeah, that's right.
And in terms of through the tap room, I know tap rooms are becoming so much more increasingly important for small breweries these days. How have things been going on that front?
Yeah. Look, good is the short answer. We're really, I don't know. We've got a really great vibe there, and people just keep coming. And I think we put a lot of work into every week. It's just week to week. We're always, it's great. There's always something to talk about. So there's always a new reason to come in. But also, I just think the consistency of beers. I think what people are telling us, they come in and they always know they're going to get a good beer, and I think they're just appreciating it because, money's tight. They want to make sure that they, the money they do spend a beer they're really going to enjoy drinking. So that's been good, and, it's always good having that feedback from our locals. They're so loyal, we see we've just built their friends now, it's great. And they're our best sort of feedback on anything we do for sure.
Yeah, great. And what about looking ahead to any sort of grand plans for 2026?
Yeah, for the tap room, for sure. That's Brad's project. So, we want to make...
Is this what you're going to explain to me about why you look like you're sat in some sort of wooden cage?
Yes, absolutely. So, I'm sat in some cage because our offices aren't built yet, right? And we're all cramming into one tiny office. So, I'm staying away today for this. But look, we've got big evolution of what we're doing there. So it's been a long journey to do it, but we're evolving our tap room. We've got 2 factories in the space we're in, so we're building out into that. So that's going to be a really great expansion for our production facility, but also the tap room. There's some great things going in there, like the pour, like the service that we're doing, some really unique like check pours and things like that. and some new offices as well, but nice space. And yeah, it just feels like we'll finally be out, even though like we celebrate 10 years next year, but we feel like we'll just finally be able to put the final coat of paint on our original tap room, even, just building out and finishing the whole project. So that's going to be really exciting. So that's something we're all looking forward to.
Well, all I can say to that is, my God, how time flies. I was thinking, how long have you been around? Is it about 6 years? But no, so you're hitting 10 next year. That's you're getting onto elder statesman sort of territory there, I think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Oh, well, it's great to hear, because I think, we hear so much about the struggles of the industry, but I know there are a lot of breweries that are, kicking goals and are going well. So, I guess if your beers are selling out faster than your reps can even get their hands on them, and you're having to double the size of your space, then things are obviously looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, for sure. But we're not immune to what's going on in the market either. So there's certainly challenges out there. But we're a pretty positive group. We we like to think like that. But yeah, we're in a nice position. So we're pretty grateful for that.
Yeah. And in terms of, I guess, you talk about the challenges there, we don't need to sort of relitigate them. They're kind of everywhere you look. But, if you're looking ahead to 2026 or beyond, is there, one thing you'd love to see, whether from a Sunday Row perspective or from a, indie beer perspective? You can have an answer each.
First one.
Yeah, I'm so excited for 2026. If we can get to the end of this year and move into next year and have our front tap room open, I just think the bar that's going to be in there will be an amazing experience for anyone that comes. More tanks for me as well, so it gives me a bit more flexibility and freedom with brewing. And I think the space will just be amazing with the designs that we've seen so far. So I think going forward, that's the real focus for a lot of breweries, is focus on your own backyard and really look after, if you've got a brewery tap room, really sort of maximise the potential there. It's pretty tough out in the wholesale market trying to get your beer on tap at a venue or get your beer in a fridge at a bottle shop. So if you can really maximise your own backyard and your own tap room, I think that's a great point to focus on.
And do you think you're still seeing new faces coming in from around your own backyard? I know it's tough at the minute, as you say, but do you think, you and the other breweries in your part of Sydney are sort of having success in reaching new people and enticing them to come and try something new and try something local and try something, family and mates owned?
Yeah, I think we probably, a lot of our success is sort of slow grow organically. So we've been a slow grow. We haven't sort of just gone trying to go berserk and flood the market. We've just sort of done what we've done here, and just slowly got the word out. So yeah, I think there are still people that are still finding out about us, that people that are in the inner west sort of feel like they've got to come on holidays to come down 10, 15 k's down to the Shire. So I still think we're finding new customers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Brad? If you could look ahead. Oh, sorry, go on, Brad. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, the answer to that question, I love it, right? I live in the Sutherland Shire, so and I love it when people say, "Oh, I haven't heard of you." It's great. It's like, there are still people that don't know who we are. Look, yeah, it's great. There's also conversations with lots of people do, but yeah, there's still heaps of opportunity even right in the Sutherland Shire for us, for just very local drinkers.
Yeah. And if you had one thing you'd like to, see happen for the beer industry, what might that be, Brad?
I just hope that the consumer continues to support small independent brewers and don't get lost in just, going back to what we used to have as a beer market. I just hope that they do continue to support that. I think it's a uniquely Australian thing to do. I really feel like that's something that we would get behind. So, yeah, I just hope that message stays strong, that independent beer is a really important part of our landscape now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd follow that too. Like, I live down the coast a bit at the Illawarra, and, I try and get out every weekend and have a beer at one of my local independent breweries. And, just not everyone's floating along or cruising along. Some of them are doing it pretty tough. So, just calling in and having a beer or a second beer, it can be a big difference to them, just that local support.
Huge.
I was looking at your tan there, Mick, and when you said you lived down the Illawarra, I thought you were about to say, well, every weekend I get out for a surf for a few hours. But, maybe you're doing that and then getting down to the local brewery.
Dodgy knees, so I'm normally sort of cruising around on the push bike slowly.
Yeah, good stuff. No, I think it is important. I was out at a gig last weekend, and I said to my mates I was taking along, they're not attached to the beer industry at all, but I wanted to take them along to see this band, and I was like, let's make sure we go to the Catfish beforehand. It's their birthday. Let's go and spend some money there, and when it's done, we'll go down to the Mill, Bendigo Hotel, and put some money over the bar at the Mill. And even if it's just 6 beers between the two of us each venue, just that little bit helps, I think.
Sure.
And just I think sometimes just showing your face and getting in and having a chat to people behind the bar makes a big difference to people as well. No, well, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck with the new build. I guess we'll line up a story for that in the new year when it's good to go. Or when is the expected opening date for the new venue?
At this point, I'm talking in quarters because of how long it's taken. So Q1, Q2.
Okay, but 2026.
100%. Yeah.
Nice one. All the best for that. Enjoy your Christmas and New Year break as well, if you're managing to get one. And we'll catch you in the new year, hopefully at the bar.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.
See ya.
Do you love craft beer but your wallet doesn't? Then the best investment you can make is a Crafty Cabal membership. For just $99 a year, you'll get access to the best value beer club in Australia with literally hundreds of special offers, deals and discounts at breweries and bars across the country. We're talking free tasting paddles, 2-for-1 pints, beer and meal deals and much more. You'll also get regular invitations to exclusive events hosted by the Crafty crew, taking you behind the scenes of Australia's best breweries. And not to mention, there are loads of opportunities to win great prizes like festival and event tickets, beer packs, and more. Do your beer budget a favour and sign up for the Crafty Cabal, Australia's best beer club. Check it out at craftykabal.com. The Crafty Pint podcast is produced and edited by Matt Hoffman. You can get all your beer-related news and reviews on the Crafty Pint website, craftypint.com, and can stay up to date on future podcast episodes via our socials.
We wouldn't be able to produce the podcast or the website, events or festivals we run without the support of the beer industry, whether that's suppliers, bars, breweries or bottle shops. If you'd like to support the show or partner with the Crafty Pint in other ways, please reach out to Craig via the details in the show notes.
And if you're a beer lover who'd like to support what we do, you can join our exclusive club for beer lovers, the Crafty Cabal. Visit craftykabal.com for more.
And until next time, drink good beer.